UCF has added another quarterback to the roster, but have they improved the room?
You are Locked On UCF, your daily podcast on the UCF Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on into Locked On UCF, your daily UCF podcast. I'm your host, Mike G. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day and for making Locked On the #1 podcast network in the world and the universe. I'm here with my good friend, James Duncan, to talk a little UCF sports here on a Tuesday morning. James, on today's show, we're going to talk about Kaleb Annett, who UCF signed to add to the quarterback room. Does this improve their QB situation? We'll talk about that. Assessing the QB room after we talk about that signing. And then we're going to talk about our one big thing this week. This is a new segment we're starting here, Locked On UCF, our one big thing in our third segment. Before we start at the top, today's show is brought to you by our title sponsor, FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. As we're recording this, college football is over officially. The championship game has ended. Congratulations to Indiana on becoming national champions, I think for the first time in the history of Indiana. So no one saw that coming probably at the beginning of the season, but proof that anybody can do it. Maybe UCF will do it here. First time for everything, right? Why not UCF? Either way, bet with our friend. If you want to bet on who's going to win that next championship, visit FanDuel. I think they do futures too. Start at the top here. UCF signed Kaleb Annett to their QB room. Kaleb Annett, you and I had a talk about this signing before we started recording. You've got some feelings. I've got some feelings here. Kaleb Annett brings not a lot of experience, college experience. As a matter of fact, he brings no college experience, no stats. Seems like a developmental signing. Talk to me about Kaleb Annett and this signing and how it makes sense or doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily – I think there's pros and cons. And I think there's pros and cons with every signing. I'm always going to try and find a bright side to a signing. It's interesting. I actually think that had we kept Davi, it might have actually been a better situation of someone that was familiar with the offense, someone that had ran in the scheme before and gotten an opportunity to play in some real snaps and, had that sort of familiarity with Scott's system. Kaleb Annett comes in. He has been in college football for the past 2 years. He redshirted in 2024, didn't see the playing field in 2025 at all. But he's 6'4". He comes in at just under 200 pounds. That could be an incorrect number. He could have stocked up a little bit more. But I think something that you have to look at with this is that they are looking for a guy that if things go wrong, they can turn to. And I think with this, you don't even necessarily guarantee yourself that piece of the puzzle, but he has been in college football for 2 years, which means he probably is a little better at learning scheme. He's probably a little better at analyzing the field because he's had the experience. He's probably run practice reps, maybe a little bit of scout team. I think you're getting a guy with college football experience and not necessarily in-game experience. He knows what it feels like to be hit by a college football player. And most of these high school guys that we have signed, depending on the guys that they were playing against, these guys are true freshmen. They don't know what it's like to get hit by at that level. And so I'm not necessarily against it. Like I said, I think there's pros and cons. I think the very clear con is that he has played as many snaps of college football as Rocco Marriott. He has played as many snaps of college football as Dante Carr, with that number being 0.
Yeah. As many snaps as you and me.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, yeah. So
is this a, I don't call this a panic sign, but one of the things we've talked about on the show is who's going to back up Alonzo Barnett III. Like, and I'm not sure that this signing answers that question, but I do think that this is where maybe I'm hoping to trust the developmental eye of McKenzie, Milton, and Scott Frost with a signing like this, where they said, hey, man, there's something that's been missed here with this kid. We think that we can develop him. I'm not sure that he helps you in 2026, but maybe he helps you in 2027 or 2028. And James, there are a lot of kids in college football who others thought would have no impact, tossed to the wayside, and they became champions. I mean, look at guys like Stetson Bennett at Georgia, who, I mean, he took over a team that had probably the best defense we've ever seen in college football, won a national title in a season where he threw sometimes less than 12 passes in a college football game, and he won about all those games that he played.
Yeah.
And next year, he was nearly a 4,000-yard passer.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there is a group. I mean, we're going to talk about we're going to assess the QB room here, but I wonder if they're looking at a guy like Kaleb Annett, and right now, is he a gamer? Could they see a gamer when they see him? Like, how do you go out scouting the portal and then think, I'm gonna go sign Kaleb Annett? He's got no stats. Like, wasn't super highly recruited coming out of high school. He landed at Boise State. How do you find this guy? Right?
I don't honestly. I always have an answer. I don't have an answer for this. I don't, and that's why to me, I don't think it's necessary. Like, all signs point to this being like, there's QBs in the portal, but none of them want to be the QB2. None of them want to get paid like a QB3 or 4. And they want a Power 5 opportunity. So there's only so much UCF can go out and get. And they say, hey, this guy's got potential. He's been in college football for 2 years, probably been playing a lot of practice. Maybe they heard from a coach. Maybe they saw his practice film. I don't know. I do know that he was this past year in 2025 under quarterback coach Zach Hill at Boise State, who has coached some pretty decent QBs in the past. I know that when he was coaching at Arizona State, he had Jaden Daniels there at that time when he was the offensive coordinator and QB coach, when Jaden Daniels was at ASU, when he was at Eastern Washington, like through 2009, 2015. He was the passing game coordinator, QB coach. He had a bunch of guys that have now become like CFL stars. He last year was the Seahawks, or 2 years ago was the Seahawks offensive analyst, and he worked with Geno and Drew Lock and some of those guys. So, I mean, the guy has worked with a bunch of quarterbacks, so he, inevitably has probably passed on wisdom to Kaleb Annett. Like I said, I am very interested at the signing. I'm very interested at seeing what they see, and I guess we'll know more in spring ball.
Yeah, I guess we will. Look, let's get to the break, and when we come back, I want to assess the UCF QB room here. They add Kaleb Annett, but obviously all eyes will be on Alonzo Barnett III. We still want to know who's going to back him up in 2026, so we'll talk about that next right here on Locked On UCF. This episode of Locked On UCF is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, our title sponsor and America's #1 sportsbook. The college football playoff is over, and FanDuel gave you customers all kinds of ways to get in on the action, but that does not have to stop. You can continue to bet on your favorite action with our friends at FanDuel. Whether you want to ride your favorite team with something that they call Profit Boost, and it helps you bet on things you already feel good about. You can ride with the favorite team you think controls the matchup, take a shot on an underdog if you feel an upset coming, or build a parlay around players and moments you think decide the game. Then you apply the Profit Boost and go after even bigger winnings. When you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for you, perfect for me, perfect for everybody who wants to get in on the game with FanDuel. FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action. So visit FanDuel.com to get your Profit Boost every single game. That's FanDuel.com, America's #1 sportsbook. James, we got to assess the QB room here. Love Alonzo Barnett III. Matter of fact, funny thing, before we start recording, funny thing happened, right? We took Alonzo Barnett III from JMU and then sent Davi Belfort to them today, I think, was it? Or today?
And then also took their like crown jewel recruit in Rock.
Yeah. JMU cursing the names of Scott Frost here. I'm sure they've got a voodoo doll that they're sticking pins in now. They took our quarterback. Now you're taking other things from us. But look, I like the signing of Alonzo Barnett III. However, you need to have two guys you feel good about. And maybe the situation is you don't have two guys you feel good about now, but coming out of spring, you've got two guys you feel good about. And that seems like the situation UCF is faced with here this spring. Right? They say, is there another guy coming here? We're running out of time, man. If you're going to sign another QB, I think that when we think about the portal, we think about bringing guys in like Alonzo Barnett who have significant experience. The problem is you turned over your entire quarterback room, essentially. And so you had to go out and find two guys with significant experience. And they did that. They signed one in Barnett III, but was unable to find another that had significant experience and wanted to come here. Look, I think the problem, I don't want to call it a problem, not a problem, but one of the challenges with signing a QB who you pretty much know is going to be the starter, it gets harder to go out and get a second QB from the portal when that guy knows he's going to be relegated to number 2.
Yeah, nobody wants to play 2.
Right off the bat.
Yeah.
And you don't sign Alonzo Barnett III and not play him. So we can just not have this whole charade of a QB battle. It happens, and I think it's okay. It's okay to sign a guy knowing that that's going to be your guy, but you've got to have somebody come in behind him who is okay being relegated to number 2 right off the bat. That seems to be where this QB room is at right now.
Yeah, and I think the funny thing is that in past years, other than the 1 year of like them going out and getting John Rice and then him returning, featuring John Rice in your background there. I think that we kind of already knew, like last year we didn't know, we thought they went out and got Tayven to go be the number 1. And then in camp you hear, oh, well, it's the 3 guys are equal. And then you're like, okay. Then you get closer and closer and closer, and Cam starts getting mentioned more and more and more. And then you end up starting the season with Cam Fancher. And then you go to Tayven. And then Tayven gets hurt. So you go to Jacurri. And then Jacurri gets hurt. Then you go back to the UCF QB room has been an absolute circus the past couple of years. And I think it's really nice for UCF fans to just know they're QB1 next year. It's nice. Like me as a fan, I feel pretty solid knowing that we finally have a QB1 next year that has proven themselves. I saw something funny the other day, and I didn't go verify the stats. I probably should have gone and done that before I mentioned it on here so I don't get ridiculed. But someone said, oh, well, KJ Jefferson and Alonzo Barnett's stats were strikingly similar in their blah, 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 blah year of whatever. And I was like, what's really funny is that KJ Jefferson was getting worse and worse and worse every year that he was at Arkansas. And also the team was doing worse. And Alonzo Barnett just transferred to us freshly after playing in the college football playoff. The two aren't comparable to me. It's not comparable at all.
No, they're not. So
I think, to me, I love this get. Alonzo Barnett is great. Kaleb Annett, I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a great kid. I'd love to see what he does in the spring. If he ends up being like a standout QB2, that is the best thing that could happen for UCF, is that this guy comes in and he's got the IQ of a good quarterback, because the backup quarterback is always the most popular guy on the team. He is always the guy that people go to when they need, like, when they're looking at film, when they're doing this, when they're doing that, the backup quarterback is like always the guy. And I think that could be the situation with Kaleb Annett. Now, I think he might have to fight tooth and nail for that job, because I think Rocco Marriott is coming out of high school with some steam.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they liked Marriott enough that they knew they were going to lose Kane Archer if they signed him.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, right now, so just kind of recapping for our listeners what's happened here. Cam Fancher gone, obviously. Tayven Jackson gone. Dobby Belfort gone. Jacurri Brown gone. Brock Hansel, I think, is gone too, isn't he?
Yeah, Brock's been a long time walk on. So
yeah. So, but now you've got Alonzo Barnett III, Kaleb Annett, Rocco Marriott, Dante Carr, who I like a lot as well too. And you've got 4 solid quarterbacks that are either, I said 4 solid quarterbacks. You've got 4 quarterbacks, but you've got some pieces that you clearly want to build up to. And then you've got one who will clearly be the guy.
Yeah. You got one guy that's the guy, and then you have 3 quarterbacks that haven't played a snap of college football.
Yeah, right. I mean, my hope is that Marriott and Dante Carr will learn a lot this year from Alonzo Barnett III. Come along, get your notepads out, guys. Take note. It's so funny. One of the things that we hear from players a lot after they go pro, all my time doing sports media, these guys will get to the league and they'll tell me, they'll say, Mike, I did not realize until I got to the NFL that I never really knew how to watch film. So I got to the NFL. And I tell young guys all the time, you want to be a star college football player, get good at watching film. Get good at not just watching the film, but processing the film, understanding the film, knowing it inside out, knowing a guy's tendencies, everything about the film. One of the players I talked to about this, he was a wide receiver and played with Peyton Manning. And he said, look, man, you can't not watch film and play with Peyton Manning. That guy expects you to be where he expects you to be when he throws the ball. And if you're not there, good luck being on that team very long, because Peyton demands that you have equal to or greater than study habits that he has. He was a student of the game. He expects you to be one. And everybody behind Alonzo Barnett, they better be students of the game. It's because it starts here for a quarterback, especially. You've got to process quickly, and you get there by taking those mental reps in film sessions. So again, I'm telling you, I think that they're going to flex their developmental muscles here with some of these kids. I'm speaking of McKenzie, Milton, Scott Frost, and they need to be adept at developing QBs, because where you're at right now, you may not be able to attract that big time name out of high school or the portal right now. But once you get proof of concept and people see that you guys know what you're doing with QB development, you'll start to get those names. You don't always need that flashy 5-star guy coming out of high school or the portal. There are diamonds in the rough everywhere, man. And hopefully what happens is UCF takes both. You're at a point where you can attract those big names, and you are finding the ones everybody else is overlooking at the same time too. So I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little worried about the QB right now, but hopefully the spring assuages some of our concerns here. Look, let's get to our second break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our one big thing this week, and we're going to have a little fun with it, maybe, but we'll talk about it right after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode of Locked on UCF is brought to you by our friends at TurboTax, guys. And I got to tell you, TurboTax is a great sponsor of Locked on UCF. We love having them here. You should too. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life this year. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or the guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local tax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. And if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. TurboTax, official sponsors of Locked On UCF. Our one big thing. James, last year, UCF basketball, close but no cigar in a lot of games. This year, close but cigar versus Kansas. And I want to talk about, we got to talk about this Arizona game. Going into it, I wasn't giving UCF a lot of hope. I think Arizona is that good. They clearly the number one team in the country, monsters everywhere. However, UCF gave them all they could handle when they came to Orlando. They will not forget that game. And you know what? It feels like the Big 12 refs protected them a little bit. They protected their number one team. Screw them, man. I am tired of referees dictating the outcomes of the game. We didn't pay to watch you. We paid to watch UCF versus Arizona basketball. Now, why am I saying this? UCF hit 13 free throws in this game. They shot 14 free throws in the game. So they hit almost every single free throw they took, all except for one. And if the percentages hold, 93% from the free throw line, and there is not 100% free throw discrepancy between UCF and Arizona, UCF might win. The way this game was called was you're going to talk about some specific calls. I just wanted to set the stage for you. Was absolutely atrocious. It was an affront to college basketball, and I'm sick of it. It is time to start punishing these clowns for calling games this bad. Yeah. Yes, I'm blaming the refs.
I was, if anybody saw me at this, I was courtside for this game, and very, very, very close to the game. And I think that if you were watching on the broadcast, it would have been a little bit more difficult to understand. Now, I had plenty of people that were texting me watching the broadcast going, what is happening with the calls? And I was like, you guys are missing another 50% of it, because during media timeouts, there are flagrants being looked at. And every single time before they got out of the media timeout, they would say, nah, no flagrant. And they would very clearly show a UCF player getting punched in the mouth or elbowed in the
you didn't see
that? And it's ridiculous. And here's the thing. UCF played this game well. Now, granted, we were not hitting shots that we would normally hit as a team. And I still believe that regardless if we had hit those shots, we still would have lost, because there were runs that UCF went on that almost every time were halted by a no call against Arizona or a call against UCF.
Yeah.
And the problem is that UCF played so well that the reffing became obvious. If UCF was already playing poorly, then the reffing wouldn't have been this major thing. It would have just been an addition to the problems. But Arizona has been killing teams on the glass, yet there was only a 1 rebound discrepancy in this game. And UCF, I believe, murdered them on the offensive boards. Yes, murdered them on the offensive boards, having 5 more offensive boards, but they got murdered on the defensive rebounding side. It felt like every single time there was a call, it was against UCF. Arizona had 33 free throws, 33 to UCF's 14.
They only hit 23, so they were only shooting 70% from the stripe here.
And you can thank the UCF student section for that, because fear the Franz, baby. That thing, that like community tradition has caused multiple teams to shoot like terribly under their averages. There are first-round draft picks on this team, multiple first-round draft picks on Arizona that just casually missed free throws against UCF. There were who was one of their best players? Koa Pete? Yeah, 20 minutes and 4 points. 4. That's phenomenal under Johnny Dawkins.
Yeah. He wasn't. They weren't letting him get shots up. I mean, they weren't letting Pete get shots up. We got to go here, but I want to say this: when you look at the advanced stats of this game compared with what we saw with our own eyes, the discrepancy was clearly on the free throw line and how the game was called from a foul standpoint. That was a discrepancy. It was UCF kind of never allowed to get in on flow, which to me affected their shooting percentage on the floor.
Absolutely.
Right now they didn't shoot great in this game, but they weren't terrible. 40% for the game from the floor.
Emus Folks had 30.
Yeah. It just felt to me like they really just robbed us of what would have been a closer ending or UCF win. And
absolutely,
I want to say this. I get it. You didn't think that UCF was going to be good at the beginning of the season, and now they're better than everybody thought they were, and Arizona is who they thought they were. This felt a little to me like them giving respect to Arizona as the top team in the Big 12 and disrespecting UCF, a team that is much better than a lot of people thought they were going to be. Have you ever seen that the Netflix thing on the 90 on the Dream Team?
Yeah.
Right. There's a part during it where Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, and another player are taking a picture together. And Magic is standing behind Michael. And Magic makes a joke and says, you can't get close to Michael or it's going to be a foul. Right? And it's funny moment, but what he said was very true in terms of how they viewed Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? Mike got calls nobody else would get.
Oh, like SGA. Yeah, it's
right.
It's the same thing. And another like funny thing that I think people were saying, and I don't know if it has any merit to it, but the Big 12 would have hated to watch 1 and 2 go down the same day, because Iowa State got upset by a Cincinnati team that we beat. Mm-hmm. Iowa State got upset. Number 2 in the country got beat by an unranked Cincinnati. Falls. We can't have your 2 crown jewel teams fall in the same day, can you?
Yeah. I mean, I hate going down the conspiracy hole, but I will tell you, just recently, the FBI charged 26 people in college basketball with a bribery and point shaving scheme. Maybe investigate these refs too. Just throw them in there, because this was crazy. And I hope that this is a one-off and we don't see more games like this, because we talked about this brutal stretch that is UCF basketball. Oh, yeah. Right? Like it was. I mean, it was and what would be a good result coming out of this stretch? Well, 3-3. I think either you and I, or me and Andrew talked about, like, hey man, if they go 3-3 in this next like 6-game stretch, that would be phenomenal. So you get it kicked off with an L, 7 points, but the game was much closer than that. Now you've got number 9 Iowa State, and you're going to them. Yeah, you got Colorado and Arizona State, sandwiched in between Texas Tech and Houston.
Not favorable. Not favorable.
1, 9, 12, and 6 in the next 5 games. Like, come on, man. and you rob them of a chance to get one of the three. You know what I mean? Oh man, the ultimate quad one win. Arizona's the ultimate quad one win.
Absolutely. And it's so frustrating because I think I don't know what the exact number is. I think it was 26, but I think it was like of the 26 past UCF losses in the Big 12 conference, it might have been out of conference even, 13 of them, so half of them, 50%, were by this exact crew of officiating.
Oh man.
It's
I think Andrew brought this up too. Yes.
I hate it. I hate it, Mike. I absolutely hate it. And it's so clear. But, we'll hopefully next time we talk about basketball, it's because we got to win today, Tuesday,
January the
20th, we get a dub against Iowa State on the road. I mean, that would be an ultimate quad one win as well. Getting a road win against a top 10 team would be absolutely electric for the Knights. There's no way you can't put a number after the UCF if they go out and get that win.
Agreed. That game gets kicked off at 7 p.m. Eastern for our listeners on CBS Sports Network. So if you don't have CBS Sports Network, get your Fubo, get your Hulu, get whatever you need to get on that one, and make sure you can watch the Knights tonight against number 9 Iowa State in their house. So UCF a second chance. Again, if you can get a win versus Iowa State, I think they're in real good shape to take the next two, and then split Texas Tech and Houston. Again, Houston was a 1-point loss last year. This is a better team this year.
Absolutely.
This is a better team. And man, there's some opportunity here for UCF basketball and Johnny Dawkins. Terry Mohajir making the decision to stick with Johnny Dawkins this year. There was a lot of people calling for Dawkins' head this offseason. He resisted those cries, and look how it's paying off so far this year. But you've got to avoid the slide, the midseason slide that hit them last year, right? So I want to remind people, it was around this time in January where it all started to fall apart with a loss to Arizona. They lost to Arizona at Arizona 88-80. And then they saw after that loss, they would not win more than 2 games until the end of February. So it was a really, really rough stretch that was kicked off by a loss to Arizona. And in that was a 7-game slide. Was it 7 or 8? It was 7. They lost to Kansas, BYU, Cincinnati, Baylor, Iowa State, Colorado, and Oklahoma State consecutively. And they were 13-13 at that point, 4-11 in conference. The season was practically over. You can't have that this year. Screw these refs, man. Like, I'm sorry. I'm tired of watching these games and the refs making themselves the story instead of letting the players be the story. We've got to move on from this, man. At the sports level, hopefully the Big 12 takes a look at what happened there and says, look, man, you guys made some mistakes. This cannot continue to happen. But you know what will continue to happen is we're going to be here to talk about it. Guys, hit the comment section after the video. Let us know what you think about Kaleb Annett signing with the UCF Knights. Give us your take on the QB room and the state thereof. What do you think? Is UCF in a good position in its QB room? We want to hear from you. Also, just whatever it is, man, in the chat about that Arizona game, curse word, just vent it all out in the comment section. We want to know your thoughts on the reffing in that game. Was it subpar? There's only one good answer to that question. If your question, you know what it is. Don't put bull jive in my comment section about that game. And we'll be back tomorrow to talk even more Locked On UCF, guys. That's it for another great episode. James Duncan, UCF sports commentator. I want to thank you for joining me on today's show. And I want to thank you guys for making Locked On UCF the #1 UCF podcast and Locked On the #1 sports podcast in the world. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow to talk even more Locked On UCF.